The elementary school parking lot was chaos at 3:15 in the afternoon. Parents in expensive SUVs jockeyed for position near the front entrance. Mercedes sedans and BMW crossovers lined up bumper to bumper, their engines idling impatiently. Teachers in reflective vests directed traffic with the precision of air traffic controllers, waving arms and blowing whistles. Children poured out of the double doors carrying backpacks too heavy for their small frames and artwork made of construction paper and glitter. Marty Thompson stood near the chain-link fence at the far edge of the lot. He was 41 years old. His jeans were faded at the knees from years of kneeling on concrete floors. His work boots were steel-toed and scuffed. The leather cracked from oil and heat. His flannel shirt had a small tear near the left cuff. Grease was embedded in the creases of his knuckles no matter how hard he scrubbed. It had become part of him. A permanent stain that told the story of his days. He worked as a mechanic at a small auto repair shop 6 blocks from here. Hendricks Auto and Transmission, family-owned. Nothing fancy but honest work and a steady paycheck. He had asked his boss for permission to leave 15 minutes early every day so he could pick up his daughter. His boss had agreed but docked his pay accordingly. 15 minutes times 5 days times 52 weeks. It added up. Marty never complained. He never asked for anything he was not willing to earn. His daughter Lily was 9 years old. She had her mother's eyes. Green with flecks of gold that caught the light in a way that made Marty's chest tight every time he saw them. Looking at Lily was like looking at Sarah, like seeing his wife alive again in miniature form. It was a gift and a wound all at once. Her mother had died 4 years ago, ovarian cancer, diagnosed too late, gone too fast, 3 months from the first symptom to the last breath. Lily had been 5 years old when she watched her father cry for the first time. She had climbed into his lap and wrapped her small arms around his neck and whispered that it was okay to be sad. That mommy would want him to be sad for a little while. She had been taking care of him ever since in her own small ways, leaving drawings on his pillow, making him laugh when the silence grew too heavy, reminding him to eat when he forgot. She had asthma, the severe kind that sent them to the emergency room at least twice a year, the kind that required expensive medication and regular doctor visits. She carried an inhaler everywhere in a small pink pouch clipped to her backpack. Marty had memorized the sound of her breathing. He could tell from across a room whether she was struggling. He could wake from a dead sleep if her breathing changed in the night. Today, Lily came running out of the school doors with her usual boundless energy. Her backpack bounced against her shoulders. Her braids flew behind her. She was carrying a piece of paper held out in front of her like a trophy. "Daddy," she shouted when she saw him. "Daddy, I got 100 on my spelling test." Marty knelt down and opened his arms. She crashed into him with the full force of her small body. He lifted her up and spun her around once before setting her back on her feet. 100, he said, matching her excitement. "That is because you studied so hard, every night this week." "I know," she said, beaming. "Mrs. Patterson said I was the only one who got them all right, even the bonus word." What was the bonus word? "Magnificent," she said, pronouncing it carefully. "It means really, really great." "You are magnificent," Marty said. "Can we celebrate?" she asked. "Can we get ice cream?" Marty did the math in his head. He had $12 in his wallet until Friday. Ice cream would cost $4. That would leave $8 for gas and emergencies. He could make it work. He could always make it work for her. "Of course we can," he said. "You earned it." They started walking toward his truck. It was parked at the far end of the lot because he always arrived early enough to get a spot that would not block anyone else. The truck was 15 years old, a Ford F-150 with faded blue paint and a dent in the rear fender. The passenger door squeaked when it opened, but it ran well because Marty maintained it himself and he knew engines the way some people knew poetry. They were halfway across the lot when the black sedan pulled in. It was a Mercedes, brand new, the kind of car that cost more than Marty made in 2 years. It pulled into the fire lane directly in front of the school entrance and stopped. No hesitation. no concern for the signs that clearly said no parking. The driver's door opened and a woman stepped out. She was maybe 34 years old. She wore a charcoal blazer over a white silk blouse. Her skirt was tailored perfectly. Her heels were red and expensive. Her hair was pulled back in a severe ponytail. Her sunglasses probably cost more than Marty's truck payment. Her name was Naomi Parker, and she was the CEO of Meridian Defense Systems, one of the largest defense contractors on the West Coast. She had inherited the company from her father 18 months ago when he died of a heart attack at his desk. The board had doubted her from the first day. The investors had questioned her qualifications. The employees had whispered that she was too young and too inexperienced, a woman in a man's world, a daughter playing at being her father. So she had become ice. She had cut costs and eliminated waste and terminated anyone who failed to meet her standards. She had learned that control was survival, that weakness was death, that showing mercy was the same as showing blood to sharks. She was here today because her nephew was in the school. Her sister was stuck in traffic and had called begging Naomi to pick him up. Naomi had agreed because family was the one weakness she still allowed herself. But she was in a hurry. She had a conference call with the Pentagon in 45 minutes. She walked toward the school entrance with the kind of stride that expected people to move out of her way. Most people did. Marty did not see her coming. He was focused on Lily, who was telling him about her day in the rapid, breathless way that children talk when they are excited. A boy named Tyler had brought his pet lizard for show and tell. The lizard had escaped and caused a commotion. The whole class had to help look for it. Lily thought it was the funniest thing that had ever happened. Naomi was looking at her phone as she walked, reading an email about a contract dispute with the Navy. She was not watching where she was going. She collided with Marty's shoulder. Her phone flew from her hand and clattered on the asphalt. For a moment, everything stopped. Naomi stared at her phone on the ground. Then she looked up at Marty. Her eyes were cold. Her voice was colder. "Watch where you're going," she said. "Do you have any idea how much that phone costs? More than you make in a month, I would guess." Marty bent down and picked up the phone. The screen was not cracked. He held it out to her. "I apologize," he said. "I should have been paying attention." Naomi snatched the phone from his hand. She looked him up and down. The worn jeans, the scuffed boots, the grease under his fingernails, the faded flannel shirt. She saw a man who did not belong in her world, a man who was beneath her notice. "Obviously," she said, "some of us have important things to do. We cannot all spend our afternoons wandering around parking lots." Lily stepped closer to her father. She did not understand what was happening, but she understood the tone. "He said sorry," she said in her small, clear voice. "He did not mean to bump you." Naomi looked down at the child, at the faded backpack and the worn shoes and the pink inhaler pouch. "How sweet," Naomi said, her voice dripping with condescension. "Teaching your daughter to apologize for your mistakes. I suppose that is all some people can give their children, excuses and apologies instead of opportunities." The words landed like blows. Marty felt them in his chest. He felt the familiar heat of anger rising in his throat. But he did not respond. He never responded. He had learned a long time ago that some battles were not worth fighting, that the only person who got hurt in a fight like this was Lily. He simply took Lily's hand and turned away. "Come on, sweetheart," he said quietly. "Let us go get that ice cream." Naomi watched them go with a smirk of satisfaction. She had won. She always won. She did not see the faded photograph taped to the dashboard of Marty's truck. A younger man in a flight suit standing in front of a fighter jet. The same green eyes, the same quiet strength. A different life, a different world. They drove in silence for a few minutes. Lily kept looking at her father. She could tell he was upset even though he was trying to hide it. "Daddy," she finally said. Why was that lady so mean? Marty took a breath. He had promised himself when his wife died that he would always be honest with his daughter. Some people, he said carefully, have forgotten how to be kind. They have so much power that they think they do not need to be gentle with others. They think being mean makes them strong, but it does not. It just makes them lonely. Lily thought about this for a long moment. I think she must be very sad, she said. Happy people are not mean like that. Only sad people try to make other people feel bad. Marty looked at his daughter in the rearview mirror. 9 years old and already wiser than most adults. You might be right about that, baby. They pulled into the parking lot of a small ice cream shop called Sweet Dreams. Lily ordered strawberry with rainbow sprinkles. Marty ordered nothing for himself. He told her he was not hungry, but the truth was he wanted to save the money. They sat at a small table by the window and she told him more about the escaped lizard and her best friend Emma, who had a new puppy named Biscuit. Marty listened to every word. He asked questions. He laughed at the right moments. He made her feel like she was the most important person in the world, because she was. Outside the window, the afternoon sun was starting to fade. Marty did not know that in less than an hour his life was going to change forever. He did not know that the woman who had humiliated him was about to learn exactly who she had dismissed. He did not know that somewhere over the Pacific Ocean a group of Navy pilots was in serious trouble. And he did not know that he was the only person on the West Coast who could save them. Their apartment was on the 3rd floor of a building that had seen better days. The elevator had been broken for 6 months, but Lily had decorated their front door with a wreath she made from paper plates and tissue paper. Inside was small but clean. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen that opened into a living room. Lily's artwork covered the refrigerator. Family photos lined the windowsill. Most showed Marty and Lily. A few showed a woman with green eyes and a warm smile. Sarah. Lily went to her room to start her homework. Marty started making dinner, spaghetti with sauce from a jar. He was stirring the sauce when his phone rang, a Washington, D.C. area code. He almost did not answer. "Hello," he said. There was a pause, then a voice he had not heard in 7 years. Marty Thompson. "This is Admiral William Chen. I need you to listen very carefully." Marty's hand tightened on the phone. The wooden spoon slipped from his other hand. "Admiral," he said quietly. "I am retired," I know the Admiral said, "and I would not be calling if we had any other choice. We have 4 pilots over the Pacific right now in serious trouble. Their aircraft systems are failing. They cannot land and they cannot eject. They have maybe 90 minutes before they run out of fuel and fall into the ocean." Marty closed his eyes. He could see them. 4 pilots in 4 cockpits. The fear they must be feeling. "I have been out for 7 years, sir. There must be someone else." "There is no one else," the Admiral said. "The system that is failing is a classified avionics suite that you helped design, the Meridian 7. You know it better than anyone alive. The documentation is incomplete. You are the only person who understands how to manually override the failsafe protocols." Marty looked toward Lily's bedroom. He could hear her singing softly while she did her homework. "Sir," he said, "I have a daughter. I understand." 4 pilots, Marty. 4 families waiting for them to come home. One of them has a daughter, too. She is 8 years old. Marty felt something shift in his chest, something he had locked away, the part of him that could not walk away when people needed help. "What do you need me to do?" he asked. "We are sending a helicopter. 20 minutes. A family liaison officer will stay with your daughter." "Understood, sir. I will be ready." "Thank you, Marty," the Admiral said. "I know what this costs you." Marty hung up. He stood in the kitchen for a long moment. Then he walked to Lily's door and knocked. "Come in," she called. She was sitting at her desk with homework spread out. Math problems. She was good at math. She looked up at him with those green eyes. "Sweetheart," he said, "I need to tell you something." 20 minutes later, Marty stood in the empty school parking lot. Lily stood beside him, holding his hand. She had her backpack and her inhaler and a small stuffed rabbit named Mr. Flopsy. She had not cried when he explained. She had just nodded and asked if she could come with him. He had said no. A woman in a Navy uniform approached. "Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez, Kind eyes, gentle smile. "Mr. Thompson," she said, "I will take good care of her. I have 2 children of my own." Marty shook her hand. "Thank you," he said. "She has asthma. Her inhaler is in the pink pouch. If she starts wheezing, she needs 2 puffs and then she needs to sit down and breathe slowly. She takes her medication at 7, and she needs to be in bed by 8:30. "I understand," the lieutenant commander said. "She will be safe with me." Marty knelt down in front of Lily. "I have to go help some people," he said. "Some pilots who are in trouble. Their planes are not working right, and I am the only one who knows how to fix them. I will come back as soon as I can." "I know, Daddy," Lily said. "You always come back. You always keep your promises." His throat tightened. He pulled her into a hug. "I love you so much, sweetheart," he whispered. "I love you too, Daddy," she whispered back. "More than all the stars. More than all the stars," he repeated. It was something Sarah used to say. Then the sound began. A deep rhythmic thumping that grew louder until it filled the sky. A Navy MH-60R Seahawk descended toward the parking lot. Gray and powerful. The rotors kicked up dust and debris. The sound was deafening. Lily pressed closer to her father. She was not scared. She was amazed. "Daddy," she shouted over the noise, "that is so cool." Marty laughed, despite everything. He kissed the top of her head and handed her to Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez. Lily waved at him over the woman's shoulder. He waved back. His heart felt like it was being torn in two. The helicopter touched down. The side door slid open. A crew chief gestured urgently. Marty ran toward the aircraft and climbed inside. The door slid shut. The helicopter lifted off immediately. Through the window, he could see Lily still waving. Mr. Flopsy clutched in her other hand. He pressed his hand against the glass. Then the helicopter banked and she disappeared from view. A voice crackled in his helmet. "Mr. Thompson, this is Captain Reynolds. We will have you at the command center in 45 minutes. "What is the current status of the pilots?" Marty asked. "Not good, sir. They have lost primary flight controls. The secondary systems are locked in a diagnostic loop. They cannot override manually because the failsafe protocols are demanding authentication codes that were never properly documented." Marty closed his eyes. He could see the system architecture in his mind. He had designed half of it during his years at Meridian Defense Systems, before his wife got sick, before he walked away from everything. The authentication codes, he said, they are embedded in the backup module. There is a physical switch sequence that bypasses the digital lockout, but you have to do it in the right order or the system interprets it as a hostile intrusion and shuts down completely. The captain was quiet. "Sir, how do you know all this?" "Because I built it," Marty said. "A long time ago." Meanwhile, Naomi Parker was in her office on the 47th floor of Meridian Defense Systems headquarters. Her assistant burst through the door. "Miss Parker," she said, "you need to see this." The television showed a news broadcast. 4 Navy F-35C pilots in distress. Aircraft systems failing. A desperate rescue attempt underway. Then the anchor said something that made Naomi's blood run cold. "Sources say the aircraft are equipped with the Meridian 7 avionics suite manufactured by Meridian Defense Systems. The Navy has reached out to a civilian consultant who helped design the system. A helicopter has been dispatched to retrieve this consultant from Southern California." Naomi grabbed her phone and called her head of engineering. "Who is this consultant?" she demanded. There was a pause. "Ms. Parker," the engineer said carefully, "the Meridian 7 was designed by a team led by a man named Marty Thompson. He left 7 years ago. He was one of the most brilliant engineers we ever had. Why did he leave? He left because his wife was dying. He gave up a senior position and a 7-figure salary to take care of her. He's been working as a mechanic ever since." Naomi's hand tightened on the phone. Marty Thompson. Marty Thompson. The man in the parking lot. The man she had humiliated. Tell me everything she said. She spent 2 hours reading his personnel file. Exceptional. Brilliant. Irreplaceable. She found his commendations from the Navy, his resignation letter, a single paragraph explaining his wife was sick. No bitterness, no demands, just a quiet statement of priorities. She found a photograph. Marty in a Navy flight suit standing in front of an F-35C. Younger, harder, eyes that had seen things. He had not just designed the avionics systems, he had tested them, he had flown them. He had been a naval aviator before becoming an engineer. 2 distinguished flying crosses, 17 lives saved during a classified rescue mission. He had been offered a promotion to commander and turned it down because it would have taken him away from his wife during her treatments. He had walked away from everything, the prestige, the money, the career, and he had become a mechanic who picked up his daughter from school every day. Naomi stared at the photograph. She thought about what she had said to him, the contempt, the cruelty. She had looked at him and seen nothing, and he had simply taken his daughter's hand and walked away. Because that was who he was, a man who did not fight battles that did not matter. Standing in her empty office, Naomi felt something she had not felt in years. Shame. Real shame. The kind that comes from seeing yourself clearly. In the helicopter, Marty sat with a laptop on his knees. Diagnostic data streamed in from the 4 aircraft. A voice crackled in his headset. "Mr. Thompson, this is Commander Hayes at Pacific Fleet Command. We have you patched through to the lead aircraft. Call sign Viper 1. Pilot is Lieutenant Sarah Chen." Sarah. His wife's name had been Sarah. "Patch me through." There was a click, then a new voice, young, scared, trying not to sound scared. "This is Viper 1. Who am I talking to?" "Lieutenant, this is Marty Thompson. I am a civilian consultant. I designed the avionics system giving you trouble. I am going to walk you through a manual override sequence." There was a pause. A civilian. "They sent a civilian to save us," Lieutenant Marty said calmly. "I know you are scared. I know this is not what you expected. But I need you to trust me. I know the system better than anyone alive. I built it. I tested it. I flew it. I am going to get you home." Another pause, then steadier. "Okay, Mr. Thompson, I am listening. Tell me what to do." Marty began to explain the override sequence. It was complicated. It required accessing a physical panel behind the pilot's seat. It required entering switch positions in a specific order with precise timing. It required doing all of this while flying an aircraft that did not want to be flown. But Lieutenant Chen was good, calm under pressure. She asked smart questions. She followed instructions exactly. She did not panic when the aircraft lurched. 20 minutes later, her voice came through with disbelief. "Mr. Thompson, I have control. Primary systems are responding. I have control." Marty let out a breath he did not know he had been holding. "Excellent work, Lieutenant. Now, relay the sequence to your wingmen. Guide them through it one at a time." He spent the next hour coaching Lieutenant Chen as she coached her fellow pilots. One by one, the aircraft came back online. When the last aircraft was stable, Marty slumped back in his seat. His hands were shaking. But 4 pilots were going to make it home. Mr. Thompson, Commander Hayes said, all 4 aircraft proceeding to safe landing. "You did it, sir. You saved them." Marty did not feel like he had saved anyone. He just felt tired. He just wanted to go home and hold his daughter. The next morning, someone knocked on Marty's apartment door. He had gotten home late. Lily had already been asleep. He had stood in her doorway for a long time, just watching her breathe. Now it was 9 a.m. Saturday. Lily was watching cartoons. He walked to the door and looked through the peephole. Naomi Parker stood in the hallway. Jeans, simple blouse, no heels, no blazer. She looked smaller somehow, less armored. Marty opened the door. "Miss Parker, Mr. Thompson," she said. "May I come in?" He stepped aside. Lily was on the couch. She looked up when Naomi walked in. Her eyes went wide. "That is the mean lady from school," she said. Naomi flinched. It was a small movement, but Marty saw it. "Yes, sweetheart," Marty said. "She wants to talk to me." Lily studied Naomi with the clear-eyed directness of childhood. "Are you going to be mean again?" "No," Naomi said quietly. "I am not." Lily considered this. Okay, you can talk to my daddy, but you have to be nice. He is the best daddy in the world and he saved pilots yesterday, so you have to be nice to him. Lily went to her room. At the door, she turned back. I am watching you, she said. Then she closed the door. Naomi sat on the couch. I know who you are now, she said. I spent all night reading about you. I know what you did at Meridian. I know what you did in the Navy. I know why you left. Marty said nothing. I said terrible things to you yesterday, she continued. I looked at you and saw someone beneath me, someone who did not matter. I was wrong. She looked at her trembling hands. I have spent my whole life trying to prove I am strong enough. I inherited a company and everyone said I was not good enough, so I became someone who never showed weakness, never showed mercy. I told myself it was strength, but it was fear. I was so afraid of being seen as weak that I became cruel. I became exactly the kind of person I always hated. I am sorry, she said. I am so sorry for what I said to you, for what I said in front of your daughter. You did not deserve that. No one deserves that. She pulled out an envelope. I want to offer you your old job back. Chief Technical Officer, full salary, benefits, everything. Marty looked at the envelope but did not take it. Naomi, he said, why are you really here? She was quiet. Then she spoke. Because I have never been more ashamed of anything in my life. Because I watched the news and knew you were the one who saved those pilots, the man I humiliated. You saved 4 lives while I sat in my office worried about stock prices. I do not want to be the person I was yesterday. I want to be better. Marty sat back. I appreciate the apology, he said. It takes courage to admit when you are wrong, but I am not interested in the job. I left that world for a reason. I left because my wife was dying and I wanted every moment with her. I realized no job was worth missing my daughter's childhood. I wake up every morning and make her breakfast. I take her to school. I pick her up. I help with homework. I read her stories at night. I know every sound of her breathing. That is my job now. I would not trade it for anything. Naomi wiped her eyes. You are a good father. I try to be. She stood and looked around the small apartment. The artwork on the refrigerator, the photos on the windowsill, the evident love filling every corner. You built something real here, she said quietly. Something I do not have. Something I do not know how to build. You could learn, Marty said. You came here today. You apologized. That took courage. Most people never take that first step. You did. Tears spilled down her cheeks. My daughter says happy people are not mean like that, Marty continued. She says you must be very sad. She is right, Naomi whispered. I am very sad. I have been sad for a very long time. Then maybe it is time to stop running from it, he said. Maybe it is time to feel it so you can move through it. Lily's door opened. She peeked out with concern. Daddy, is the lady okay? She is going to be okay, sweetheart. She is just learning something hard. Lily walked over and took Naomi's hand. When I am sad, my daddy holds my hand, she said. It helps. Naomi looked down at this child who had every reason to hate her, who was instead offering comfort. Thank you, she whispered. Lily smiled. My mommy said being kind is the bravest thing you can do. Naomi knelt down. Your mommy was right, and you are very brave. Lily beamed. My daddy says I am the bravest person he knows. He is right. Naomi stood and looked at Marty. Thank you for listening, for not throwing me out, for showing me what grace looks like. The job offer stands, she said. Whatever would work for your family. We could use someone who knows what really matters. Naomi left. Marty closed the door. Lily was smiling. You made her feel better, Daddy. I think she made herself feel better, sweetheart. We just gave her a safe place to do it. Can we have ice cream for lunch? It is 10 in the morning. So yes, we can. They walked to the kitchen together, father and daughter, hand in hand. Through the window, the morning sun poured in warm and golden. Somewhere across the city, Naomi Parker was driving home with tears on her face, feeling something she had not felt in years: hope. And somewhere over the Pacific, four pilots were landing safely because a mechanic in worn jeans had remembered who he used to be. Sometimes we look at people and see only the surface, the clothes they wear, the jobs they have, the money in their wallets. We make judgments in seconds. We dismiss without thinking. We decide who matters based on nothing but appearance. But beneath every ordinary face, there is an extraordinary story. The mother working two jobs to feed her children, the veteran carrying invisible scars, the father who gave up everything for love. We do not see them because we do not look. We do not ask because we assume we already know. Marty Thompson could have been bitter, could have been angry, could have spent his life resenting what he lost. Instead, he chose to be grateful. Grateful for the time he had with his wife, grateful for the daughter she gave him, grateful for the simple, perfect moments of pancakes on Saturday and ice cream after school. He did not need recognition. He did not need titles. He did not need anyone to know he had once been a decorated aviator and a brilliant engineer who saved 17 lives. He only needed to be a good father. That was enough. That was everything. Naomi Parker could have stayed cold, could have stayed hard, could have spent her life building walls higher and higher. Instead, she chose to break them down. One apology at a time, one moment of vulnerability at a time, because that is how we change. Not in grand gestures, but in small choices. Not in public declarations, but in private moments of honesty. The four pilots who landed safely that night went home to their families. They held their children. They kissed their spouses. They stood in their kitchens and breathed in the ordinary miracle of being alive. Somewhere in a small apartment, a man was reading a bedtime story to his daughter. She was already half asleep. Her breathing was steady and clear. Her inhaler was on the nightstand just in case. He finished the story and closed the book. He leaned down and kissed her forehead. "I love you, Lily. I love you too, Daddy. More than all the stars. More than all the stars." He turned off the light and walked to the door. At the threshold, he paused and looked back at her, small and peaceful in her bed. Mr. Flopsy tucked under her arm, his whole world, his whole heart. Sometimes the greatest heroes are the ones who never tell their stories, the ones who carry their courage quietly, the ones who choose love over glory and family over fame. They do not wear capes. They do not seek applause. They just show up every day and do the hard, beautiful work of being present for the people they love. That is the truest form of heroism. That is the deepest kind of strength. Subscribe if you believe true heroes never need to prove themselves. Subscribe if you believe the measure of a person is not in their title but in their heart. And remember, the next time you look at a stranger, you do not know their story. You do not know what battles they have fought. You do not know what sacrifices they have made. But you can choose to treat them with dignity. You can choose to be kind. That choice is everything. That choice is who we are.